So, are there any questions about the meditative practices we did this morning? Please review them in your mind. We began with practicing mindfulness, full awareness of the body, and then went into mindfulness or awareness of the breath. And then we spent a little time practicing mindfulness of the mind, meaning thoughts, feelings, perceptions, that which arises in the mind. And then we sort of ended with taking a little look at that which is aware of all this. So are there any questions, anything about not clear about the practice or what you were experiencing, even more important? Again, the silence means that everybody is very clear, or the silence means everybody's half asleep, or the silence means you're just a little shy about asking or saying. See, I don't know any of that. So everybody's very clear that that which arises in our awareness and awareness itself are two different things. Just nod your head yes or no if that's... So everyone's aware of that. Is there anybody... So going forth, you will never, ever again be identified with your thoughts, feelings, perceptions, stories, issues, memories. You see them all as just appearances arising in the mind. And is that true? Just so then let us spend a moment going back into it, because it sounds very simple, but it is essential. To be able to... Yes, you have a question? Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's still a habit, or it's easy to go into something smaller and be there.
Mm-hmm.
And not as comfortable.
Yeah. That's exactly why we practice. No, so yeah, that's what practice is about, right? But we begin practice totally identified, which is that which is small. Our thoughts, our feelings, our perceptions, our self, our place in the world and our identification in the world is with all these little tiny things that are always appearing and disappearing. We think they're real, we think they're permanent, we think they're important, right? So that's our vision. And it's a distorted vision, and it causes us suffering. It causes us to feel very narrow and constricted, right? And then as we begin to practice, we begin to get a sense there's something else going on here, right? There is something bigger that all these things are appearing in, right? And you, as you say, you called that bigger, more spacious, more, yeah. Right. And then it's a matter of training, right? Over and over again. And like, and there are many, many meditations in Buddhism that help one go deeper into, in Buddhism, we talk a lot about realization. People know that word. We want to have realization. We don't just want our understanding to be intellectual, or our understanding to be something that we kind of understand in our head or have a memory of, but it's not real to us. See, it's when it becomes real to us, then real change happens. And we stop identifying with, the bubbles. And we start identifying with the ocean. It doesn't mean that there aren't bubbles. It doesn't mean that there aren't thoughts, feelings, perceptions continually arising and passing, but they are no longer problematic. They're problematic. Why? What is your name?
Vicky.
Vicky, why are they problematic?
Oh, they're problematic because they cause harmful actions. They lead to problems.
Yeah. Well, actually, the truth is they really don't.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
The problem is it's because we believe they're real,
Mm-hmm.
and we follow them and we engage with them. That's the reason we have problems.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very important distinction, right? Right. Once you understand that a dream is just a dream, right? You know, like when you're a child, you think your dreams are real, which is not a problem for the happy, good dream. The problem is when you think your bad dreams or your nightmares are real, right?
Mm-hmm.
But once you learn that at some point it dawns on you, they're just dreams. Good dreams, bad dreams, wonderful dreams, terrible dreams. They're all dreams. They have no reality to them, really, right? Then you're what? You're free. It doesn't mean you may not have a bad dream from time to time or a good dream, but it doesn't disturb you like it disturbs a child, right? So many of us have learned that about our sleeping dreams. We just haven't learned it about our waking dreams. And unfortunately for many of us, we spend lots of time lost in our waking dreams, don't we? Thinking they're real. Does that make sense, Vicky?
Mm-hmm.
Are there other questions about this distinguishing? Again, it's got to be grounded. You got to unfortunately learn to have a place within yourself where you're clear, where you're grounded, so you can look at this world of your thoughts, feelings, perceptions, your memories, or etc., with some degree of clarity and groundedness, so you don't get swept away, right? It's like a scientist, they have to have a lab, or they have to have instruments so they can observe phenomena, right? So we need that place within ourselves so we can observe the phenomena of what? Of our own mind. I mean, that's really all we're doing here. Learning to stop. That's meditation. Stop. Calm, stabilize, and then look to see what's really going on. Any other questions about this practice? Yes.
I don't know if this is a question or I'm just trying to understand in my own mind
Yeah.
of the experience. It's something like, I just wanted to ask this morning, I was in the kitchen with my kids and my daughter knew that I was going out, so she needed all her time. She was demanding a lot and I could see that irritation.
All the time she was what?
She was demanding a lot of things from me.
Yeah. That's what they do.
And I only had 5 more minutes, but she wanted everything right that moment.
Yeah.
And I could see a lot of irritation coming on my head, but I could see that.
Good.
In the past, I used to just get lost on that irritation and snap at her or say some things, and that would get worse. And instead of taking 5 minutes for me to get out of the house, it would take me 15 more minutes because I would say something and there would be a whole drama. So like I just saw that huge irritation that's on top of me, and this is not going to be good if I utter any words. So there was in the midst of this irritation itself, there was something
Mhm.
that was telling me that I need to just keep my mouth closed
Mhm.
and just be with whatever it was. And then it passed away after
Mhm.
some time. So,
So sounds good. Well,
so
so what's the so?
so I was saying, like, is that what we are trying to see? The part of the mind, like, looks like there was two mind, like the one that was getting irritated, and the other mind that was seeing that I was getting
Yeah.
irritated. And then when I look into that mind that is noticing that I was getting irritated
Mm-hmm.
and try to see that,
Mm-hmm.
then there is nothing to
Uh-huh.
it.
Well, that's interesting.
So there is, like, I don't know what to say. I was just trying to
Yeah,
understand
that's good.
this experience.
Yeah, so we have to begin somewhere, right? I mean, we're not fully enlightened Buddhas. We're not fully realized. We're like Rosie said, we're, right in the midst of our stuff, right? And you're saying, one of the little pieces of your stuff is your daughter. You got a teenage daughter, and she's who she is, and you get irritated with her, right?
Sorry.
And you get irritated with
Mhm.
it. Yeah. So that's your stuff. Now, the first step is to realize, like you're doing, oh, irritation. That's suffering. You see? That's a good beginning, right? Because all of a sudden you're beginning to have criteria for what a wholesome and unwholesome mind is. And all of a sudden you're going, irritation, anger, frustration, unwholesome. Doesn't do any good for me, makes the situation worse, just waters negative seeds in her. Okay, so you're seeing that, aren't you? That's good. See, you're becoming mindful, you're waking up. When we're asleep, we don't see anything. Things can be going on around us we don't see, but you're beginning to wake up and you see, oh, see, wonderful, mindful moment. It sounds so ridiculous, but like you're all of a sudden you're aware, I'm irritated. Before you just would be irritated and blaster. But now there's some awareness. Oh, there's irritation. I'm irritated at her, right? So that's good, right? And then, like you said, there's a little space there that you can go, I can do something else. I don't have to yell at her. I don't have to, you know what I'm saying? There are options here. Maybe there's a more skillful response, right? So that's good. That's how we begin to change. But if we can't name what we're doing or feeling as suffering or unskillful or unwholesome, right? If we don't have mindfulness of that, and if we don't create some space in our ability to see what's going on that allows us to respond differently than in the past, then it's just endless same old, same old. So that's good. Now,
And when you say during meditation that look at that awareness
yeah, well,
of what's
the next
going
step.
on,
Yeah, that's the next step.
and
So, yeah, so good.
there is just nothing and nothing, but that helps to just focus.
Yeah. So you say there's nothing, but
It is.
it's there. So it has to be there's something there, right?
Yeah, that just.
I mean, you're not saying you're just empty space, are you?
No, but I don't know.
Yeah, you're doing good, but it's good. You're on the right track, right? So, in truth, there's only one mind, so you don't have to worry that you're beginning to fragment.
Sorry.
You don't have to worry that you're beginning to fragment.
Okay.
But there are different ways of using the mind and the skills of the mind, but it's all one mind, right? But you have this capacity to now realize, oh, I can distinguish, right? Like I can distinguish between the water and the fish, even though in truth, they really are interrelated deeply, right? We can still distinguish between the water and the fish, right? The water which sustains everything. See, if you ask a fish about the water, try it next time you run into a fish. If you have a little tropical fish at home or, ask the fish, tell me about the water. And they would do what? They look at you like you're crazy. Well, what are you talking about, water? See, they don't even know they're in water, do they? And yet, their whole life totally exists in water, doesn't it? Yeah. Like let's say we exist with this thing called air. But there's really no thing called air, is there? But yet, all life is based on what? Air. Right? We have no life without air, do we? And yet, we never notice it, do we? We take it for granted, don't we? So, in the same way, what our true mind is, our natural mind, our Buddha mind, whatever you want to call it, is also the basis of everything. But we never notice it. Because we're too busy what? What'd you say, Vicky? We're too busy what? Yeah. We're too busy just attending to the drama. Our internal drama, the external drama, we're very busy. Right? Who's got time to notice these bigger issues, such as, that I'm a Buddha? Too busy, aren't we? Is that? Yeah. So again, there are lots of, Buddhist meditation is sort of a sequential developmental, and certainly exploring the nature of mind, the nature of awareness is very important. But it's got to begin somewhere, and it's got to begin because, and from a practical matter, learning to distinguish between that which is aware, that which is mindful, that which is conscious, and all the things we're conscious of, and to see that they are different is very important, or else we're what? We're endlessly lost. Right? I mean, is that clear? That's why this little subtle thing is so important. I see things, but I am not the things I see at a certain level. A certain level, deeper level, I actually am. But at a practical level, right? I am not I am not the things that I see. I am not the sounds I hear. I'm not the smells I smell. I am not the tastes. I am not the sensations. I am not the thoughts, feelings, perceptions. Because I'm aware of them. Right? It can't be both. Because the awareness always stays. Right? The parade continues. Right? I mean, when you were watching your thoughts, remember you were watching your thoughts earlier? Were you making them arise? Were you? No. And yet we call them our thoughts, don't we? My thoughts. Right? But none of us created our thoughts, did we? I mean, did you create all your thoughts that you've had since you came here this morning? No. And yet we think they're ours, don't we? I mean, it's just getting a little weird. But, this is important stuff. I mean, this is really what meditation is about at a deeper level. First, we need calmness and clarity, but then we really need to understand it. Because why? Because all happiness, all suffering, everything arises where? In our minds, nowhere else. So if we don't get straight about our minds and our thoughts and our feelings and our perceptions, then we'll always be, world about. Any other questions? Anything not clear? Good. So I'm sure some of you may be aware, perhaps not all of you, but there is a hurricane heading to Florida, I'm sure. Right? Anybody ever hear that? So therefore why do we cancel today? There really is no reason, is there? To cancel this afternoon, but we just felt that, the media was telling everybody what? At least 2 days ago or something, they're telling us what? Get everything ready by Saturday because Sunday, all hell's going to break loose. So you got to get all your preparations done by Saturday, right? And we know from living in Florida that is sometimes true, but often not true. So in thinking about what to talk about today, I thought of these 3 fierce mantras of Tsangpa Gyare. And I think it would be better, I think, if I was sharing them with you if it was stormy outside. I don't know if we could, it's really just too bad, that the wind is not howling and the rain is not pounding, you know what I'm saying? And their branches weren't falling on the roof. So that would be more dramatic, you see. Because why? Because when life is like this, we forget that life can be like that. Right? And that is the problem with this life. It's not constant. It's endlessly changing. Right? And there are good times and there are bad times, and there are hard times and there are easy times, right? And there are difficult times and there are enjoyable times, right? Beautiful things in life, terrible things in life, good people, bad people, beautiful days, stormy days, right? So the reason there are these 3 fierce mantras by this Tibetan teacher Tsangpa Gyare many, many centuries ago. Mantras are supposed to be what? Words of power, right? Powerful words, powerful sounds. Right? Mantras can protect you, right? Many people believe mantras can protect you. So these are mantras, but they're not, Sanskrit words. They're actually, I guess they were Tibetan and now they're written in English, but they have that power. And their power is in relationship to that side of life which many of us call aversity. Right? And because aversity in life is always, let's say, every experience has the potential for being aversive. Right? So you with your daughter this morning, would you call your experience with her in the kitchen a positive experience, a neutral experience, or an aversive experience? Aversive, right? And there you are in your own kitchen, right? With your own loving daughter, right? You carried in your womb for 9 months, right? And you gave birth to her and you took such good care of her, right? And there she is in the kitchen. In all her magnificence, giving you a hard time, right? Yeah. And so there it is, right? And we all know that. I mean, aversion, an aversive situation can arise anywhere. Is that clear? And it can change. I mean, somebody does something nice, and we have a very pleasant. And they do something, that we don't want them to do, and we what? And it's aversion. I mean, it's just like boom, 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 right? We can be meditating, and you have a good, 5-10 minutes. Your mind's very clear. You feel relaxed, and you're going, what? Oh, this is great. Well, I ought to do this more often. You know what I mean? And 10 minutes later, your mind's just full of stuff. You're feeling bored. You're feeling this. And all of a sudden, your response is what? Aversion. Gee, how much more of this? When is the bell going to ring? Can you see how this mind of ours, which is the source of our suffering, and the reason we practice is really because of aversion. Right? Very few people would come to a spiritual path, a meditative path, if everything in their life was blissful. Right? Right? No, we come to meditative life, spiritual life, because of the challenges, the difficulties in life. Right? And we want to find a better way. Is that clear? So the reality is that aversity, which means basically an aversive situation, there's no such thing from the point of view of the situation that's aversive. Is that clear? The hurricane does not consider itself an adversity. Right? It doesn't even know it has a name. We may find that hard to believe, yeah. Hurricane Dorian does not know it's a hurricane or that its name is Dorian. Right? It's just doing its thing. Right? Your daughter was just doing her thing this morning, wasn't she? Just like Dorian. Right? And she might have felt really good about what she was doing. Right? But you name that situation adversity, aversive. Is that clear? There is nothing aversive about Hurricane Dorian from its side at all. It's just what it is. Right? But it's from our side that we label it what? Aversive. Because the truth is, we want the weather to always be like this. Right? We call this what? Nice. We might find it hard to believe, but people who come down from other places where it's cooler in the summer come down here and go, adversity. Florida in the summer, adversity. Aversive. Ooh, why would anybody want to be here? Right? So we have to understand that all responses to life are coming from us. And again, we don't have a problem with nice weather, do we? We have a problem when the weather is not what we want it to be, when our daughter is not acting the way we want her to be, when our wife, husband, partner, colleague, when the world, when the economy, when the president, when, these things become aversive because it is not proceeding the way I think it should. I have a negative response. Is that clear? So, these wrathful mantras are to help us deal with adversity. Since we know adversity is very much part of our life currently. In the Lojong mind trainings, it is said even more extreme. It says, take adversity as the path of awakening. how do we bring all adversity into our world and make it normal? Right? Sunny days, cloudy days, calm days, stormy days. It's all, right, part of it. Nice people, not nice people. Good people, bad people. How do we just bring everything into our view without endlessly breaking it up into wanted, unwanted, aversive, non-aversive? So that's the goal. Why do we want it to be the goal? Anybody have any idea why that might be a goal for oneself? What? It's more peaceful. Yeah, it's a more peaceful way of being. Calmer, more peaceful, yeah. More open, more, yeah, right? Yeah. And it's also the way things really are. I mean, it also happens to be reality, right? There's something going on out there in the Atlantic, isn't it? It doesn't even know what it's doing, does it? It's not a thing. It's not a person. It's just a bunch of causes and conditions that are spinning around. Right? That's all that's going on. That's all that's going on with your daughter. She's just a bundle of causes and conditions spinning around in the kitchen this morning. So, in honor of Hurricane Dorian, who does not know that it's named Hurricane Dorian, I want to transmit to you these three mantras. They're very powerful, and people have been around a while. I've taught them before during times of extremity, but I think they're things, they're very simple, and upon hearing them, some of you may not like them. Okay, I just want to give you a little warning. It goes against your grain. You may not want to hear them, but I'm leaving enough time. We can talk about it, so don't feel like you got to swallow it. So the first one, whatever has to happen, let it happen. Whatever has to happen, let it happen. So what would be the opposite of that? Whatever has to happen, stop it. Try to control it. Put the brakes on. Don't let it happen. Okay? Now, if I said, before you heard this teaching, which side would you have been on? The side of this one or the side of control, manipulation, stop it? Right? How many people would be on the side of Tsangpa Gyare? Whatever has to happen, let it happen. How many people will be on the other side? All right. This is a moment of truth. All right. So this is very powerful. And it's I mean, many people, they'll hear it, they'll go, ooh, I don't like that, right? Whatever has to happen, let it happen. It's an acknowledgement of what? What? To really embody this, you would have to acknowledge what? 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 Reality. Accepting reality, accepting reality as it is, and knowing that our capacity to control and manipulate life is, well, I mean, I'd hate to, there can be some people I know who don't want to give it up. So I'll say very limited. Okay? So for those of you afraid I might say nil, no, I won't, but very limited. Right? Now, whatever has to happen, let it happen. Why do we let it happen? Because it's going to happen anyhow. I mean, you see, it's because it's going to happen anyhow. I mean, this hurricane, whatever it does, it's going to do. Right? We can't control it. We can't make it go away. We can't make it change its course. It's going to do whatever it does. And this, whatever has to happen, let it happen, is an internal process within us where we acknowledge that. How's your daughter going to be when she gets home? When you get home? How's your daughter going to be when you get home? You don't know. She'll be some way, won't she? She'll either be this way or that way, but whatever she'll be, that's what's happening. Let it happen is that ability to give up control. It doesn't, we'll talk about it, doesn't mean you don't respond, but that controlling piece. See, where does the irritation and the anger come from? Think about it. Anybody here beside Rosie ever get irritated or angry with anything? What? Okay. Why do we get irritated and angry? Yeah, because what's ever happening, we don't want it to happen. It's such an inconvenience. I mean, we all have our ways of rationalizing to ourselves why we're justified in being angry or irritated, don't we? Or impatient. Yeah, we're all excellent at that. But the bottom line is, whatever is happening, whether it's in the kitchen with your daughter, or big, or in the world, or hurricanes, or whatever, it's because what? We don't believe it should be happening. Is that true? And yet, is it happening? Yes. That's reality. And that space, for those of us who don't live in reality, but live in our thoughts about reality, that space will fill up with what? What? Resentment, anger, fear, worry, sadness, despair, jealousy. I mean, go on and on. But that's all the space that exists between what? Reality and the way we want reality to be. Right? Whatever has to happen, let it happen. Again, this doesn't mean that, in preparation for the potential of a significant hurricane coming here, that we don't do anything, right? It's not saying that. Is that clear? This is not like, again, que sera, so why not let it happen, No. It doesn't mean you don't respond to your daughter, but you don't respond to her from anger and irritation, because the anger and irritation is coming from what? What? Because you don't want her to, however she's showing up in the kitchen this morning is not the way you want her to show up. Is that true? Yeah, you want her to be different. Is that true? Now, if she's operating from the same principle you do, which she wants you to be different, can you see the possibility for suffering there? Yeah. So we'll come back. I wanted to, I mean, let's just, all right, I'll take anything that's not clear about about this that's rubbing you the wrong way, that you don't want to, whatever has to happen, let it happen. Yes.
The has to part of it? It sounds like it's a foregone conclusion.
What? No, we don't know anything. I mean, it's really bigger than a foregone conclusion. I mean, to say that the hurricane is going to take the path it takes based on its own dynamics, right, is to acknowledge that. That's all. But you're saying what? You're asking,
Well, just if I nitpick on the word, it's like, in the present, I'm saying that in the future, it has to be. So
it has to be what?
I don't know,
Yeah.
like there's some future foregone conclusion.
Yeah, there's no conclusion. The truth is we don't know anything about how things are going to turn out, do we? I mean, we sit here in meditation. Does anybody know what their next thought is? I mean, let's get personal here. Do you know what your next thought's going to be? No. Do you know how your daughter's going to be the first, when you go home? No. We don't know anything. And yet we act as if what? We know everything. Yes, sir.
Person standing on the bridge.
Person
Standing on the bridge,
Yeah.
won't jump into the water.
Yeah.
You have the ability to stop.
Yeah.
Let it be.
Mm-mm. So that's what I meant when I said this is not, everything is everything. It means whatever is happening, right? It is happening, right? Right. And yeah, and so the only thing to do is to respond. It's like the hurricane, right? The hurricane is happening. You can worry about it, you can be angry about it, you can despair about it, but at the end of the day, it's happening, and you're right. The only thing to do is what? Deal with reality. So that's a good question. I mean, that's what he's saying. It's like, it's happening. Right. Now, if you have an ability to respond in a helpful way, I mean, whatever is happening is happening. Your daughter is the way she is. How you respond to it, there's your freedom. Right? But if that person's on the edge of the bridge, you don't want to be there going, "Oh, this is terrible. This shouldn't be happening." Right? Because that would immobilize you. It's happening. So this helps us move directly into reality and to deal with it directly. It's very important. Yes.
One step further, he jumps. Reality is he jumps.
Yeah, that's right.
How do you deal with it?
I don't know. You want to jump in after him and save him?
No, my point is,
What? What is your?
it is going to happen. Let it happen. Is that acceptance? Is that
Well, it's both. It's both and. It's not either or. It's on the one hand, the whatever has to happen, let it happen, gets us out of this resistance to life that fills in with anxiety and fear and anger and despair. Okay? It allows us to step directly into reality. And hopefully with a clear mind. So if there is something that can be done, right, to prevent him from jumping or her from jumping, yeah. Or if you see somebody in the water and if there's something that can be done, but, that's the reality to be dealt with. Again, like the storm. It's not as if we go, right? But on the other hand, the fear, the anxiety, I mean, all this distress, the stress, that is put upon people. Because what? Because what? You don't want it to happen, but yet it's going to happen. But we don't know if it's going to, you know what I mean? And I think that is one of the stressful things about, weather things like hurricanes living in Florida or anything is they're unpredictable. See? And what do we like? We like predictability, don't we? Right? See, like Buddhism is fundamental. It's all impermanent, right? But the truth is, we'd like our impermanence to be predictable. When you say it out loud, you realize how ridiculous it is, right? But that's the truth. It's like people will reflect and meditate on impermanence, sickness, old age, and death, right? And they'll say, yeah, I'm at peace with it. I understand. Yeah, everybody have a body. Everybody ages. Everybody gets sick, and everybody eventually dies. I get it. I get impermanence. But what scares the hell out of us is the unpredictability. I don't know when it's going to happen. You see? Uh-oh. I can't predict when it's going to happen. I can't control it. And I think that's what, all the media feeds on, and why people get glued, to the updated weather reports every 3 seconds, right? Because we're hoping somehow that gives us a sense of what? Control. Again, I often think that it's the media types, the advertising types, who really understand Dharma the best. They understand the nature of mind the best. Unfortunately, they're using it for their own purposes. Yeah, but they get, this is, anyhow. Okay, yes. Mm-hmm.
It was a lady who was giving the report, and the way that she was talking, I feel kind of upsetting, because I feel like my mind was manipulated. She was a woman who was saying like, this is a monster situation that's getting bad by the minute. Like, I really feel like, it's like I say I cannot continue hear that. I mean, I really feel like they were manipulating the masses.
So why does that bother you? Whatever has to happen, let it happen. Yeah, you turn on the TV, people are going to manipulate you. Is that true?
I guess so.
That's not good enough. Is that true?
Well, I hear other people who are more like, this is the report and this is where the, but the way that this lady talked, it is really want you to get out and jump from the window kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's what's happening. You turn on that station, that's what's happening. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that's, this is not a value judgment. This is not an ethical judgment. Please understand. We're talking about just what is reality. And this is different. We can make, depending on who we are, whether we think that's ethical, moral, should be done, shouldn't. That's a whole nother discussion. But the bottom line is, at that moment, that's what that woman is doing, and at that moment, you're listening to her. That's what's going on. Coming back to the gentleman's question, can you turn it off if you want? Yeah, you can. That's your freedom. But to get angry because she's doing it is to misunderstand that that's what she's doing, yeah. And, we're listening to her. So, we got to look at that. Yes.
Conceptually understand.
Yeah.
Like when people say it is what it is, well, because it is.
Right.
Is it? Okay. So,
Yeah.
but moving that from my head to my heart is very difficult.
Well, what's your name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer, again, that's practice. I mean, that's what I've been trying to say. We are habituated to living life, perceiving life, responding to life incorrectly, meaning it causes us suffering. Okay? That's why we're here, right? And You're absolutely right. It's a change. And especially if you've been doing it for a long time, it's your first response. But I assure you, once it's like Rosie said, it wasn't like she wasn't, irritated this morning at her daughter, but at least now she knows that she's irritated, right? Which is a big step than before. And with that kind of awareness, right, now she knows I can respond differently.
Is the solution just meditating, or is there more? I mean, awareness, obviously, but
No, I mean, meditation, the Buddhist path, like there are various formulations, but let's say a basic one, which is it's an eightfold path, right? Fourth Noble Truth, eightfold path. Yeah. Meditation and concentrate, meditation and wisdom are 2 out of the 8. Yeah, there's lots of other things we need to do, like change the way we think, right thinking. This is helping us change the way we think about things, the way we view things, right? So is that clear? And that's big, right? Meditation helps us do that. You see, meditation helps us get it from just, reading the book or listening to talk, and makes it realization, which is what you're talking about. Yeah, how do I get it real? Right. And that's, many people get, frustrated with themselves or with their spiritual path because they go, it's not working. I've been going to all these classes, I've been listening to all these talks, I've been reading all these books, right? And yet, fundamentally, I'm still the same, right? And that's true. Why? Because of just what you said. We haven't implemented it. I often say people, it's just like, listening to all the food channels and reading all the books does not make you a good cook. Right? I mean, right? If you want to be a good cook, you have to what? Practice. You have to cook. You see what I'm saying? But that you understand, right? If I said, what's it, Jennifer? If I said, Jennifer, if you watch the food channel, and I don't even know what goes on the food channel, but I would imagine it's all about food and cooking and, right? So if you watch the food channel 24 hours a day for 10 years, would that make you a good cook? No. You might know a little bit. You see what I'm saying? You may be able to identify all the fancy implements. You see, you may be able to talk very knowledgeably about food to other people, but you may not be a good cook yet. But I assure you, if you practice, you will be. This is not so difficult, because your wrong way of perceiving things, you weren't born that way. It's something you developed, right? And now you become, it's like what Rosie was saying. Now she's going, wow, I'm really irritated at my daughter. Oh, right? So now she stops. She names it, and she looks into it. Why am I irritated with her? Because she's not who I want her to be, right? Right? Simple as that. Why is she irritated at her mother? Because her mother is not who she wants her to be, right? Talking from your daughter's side. Oh, well, it's kind of simple. Right? If I can accept her for who she is, which doesn't mean that you don't, as a parent, intervene, right? But the anger is gone. The irritation is gone, because you've changed the way you're viewing the situation. Does that make sense? Yeah. Number 2, so whatever has to happen, let it happen. Number 2, this is really going to bother some. If the first one bothered you, listen to this one. Whatever the situation is, it is fine. Whatever the situation is, it is fine. Try that one. Now again, these are these special mantras. They're meant to help us handle in a positive way adversity. So not only is reality reality, that was the first one, whatever's going to happen is going to happen, but that whatever the situation is, it's fine. Just be with that one for a moment. Stew on that one for a moment. Get the juices going. Can you hear inside you a lot of resistance to that one? Yeah. Some people may be screaming, no, it's not fine. No. Right? Yeah. So this is big mind. And this is a mind that wants to help us deal with adversity. Not ignore adversity, okay? Not respond to adversity, but in our own mind to be able to deal with it. So when he says, and again, I'm speaking for him, he's been dead for centuries, and really all I just found a reference to this once in one text, totally different text. And I've never been able to, maybe there hasn't been translated yet, any kind of explanation of what he meant by these, other than these are just known as the 3 fierce, wrathful mantras of Tsangpa Gyaltsen. So, whatever the situation is, it is fine. Sometimes it's also can be said, whatever the situation it is perfect. Again, probably people just, right? Very hard to hear that, isn't it? So this, it is fine or it is perfect is big picture, okay? It is an understanding that everything is unfolding according to causes and conditions, right? Hurricane Dorian is perfect, is a perfect Hurricane Dorian, right? It's fine the way it is, because that is the way it is. It is fine. It is perfect. Each one of us, just the way we are fine. We're perfectly ourselves. In this moment, we cannot be anything else than we are. In this moment, the world cannot be any more than it is. So again, this is a fine or a perfect that has no moral or ethical, political, social stance at all. Is that clear? So don't go there. He's talking very specifically, it's very personally now, how each one of us relates to the world, and especially adversity. One, we can't control it, and 2, it is showing up perfectly as it is. Everybody is perfectly who they are. Every situation is perfect as it is. Perfect because in that moment it cannot be anything else than it is. A flower is perfectly a flower. A weed is perfectly a weed. Right? Good people are perfectly good. Bad people are perfectly bad. Is that true? This is a hard one, isn't it? You thought the first one was hard. How about this one? Yeah. This situation, the unfolding of this hurricane, whichever way it goes, whatever happens, even if it's destructive, even if it does harm, in and of itself, it's perfectly manifesting as it is. Your daughter is perfectly, what's your daughter's name again? Riva. Yeah, she's perfectly Riva. She's fine, right? It doesn't mean that Riva, you don't have possibilities of change, transformation, but it means in the moment. You see, many of us, we live opposite like that, right? So in the same way, whatever has to happen, don't let it happen is our mantra, right? Stop it from happening, prevent it from happening, do anything you can to change, manipulate so it doesn't happen, right? Whatever the situation is, if this says it is fine, our mantra is what? Whatever the situation is, it's not fine, right? You see? We are great cultivators in our culture of the mind of dissatisfaction, right? We look around the world and it is what? It's not fine. We look at ourselves even. Many people are look at themselves and they go, what? Are we fine? No, I'm not fine. You're not fine. My parents weren't fine. My childhood wasn't fine. Right? Everything, right? You see? That's our mind state. And we wonder why we're not happy. Right? We wonder why we're not happy. Again, everything is fine is not ethical. It's just an acknowledging. Your mother was fine just the way she was. Your father was fine just the way he was. Your grandparents, everybody, you. You know, when my old Dharma friend Hogan Bays, you know, who's a lead teacher out in Great Valley in Portland, was here. Maybe some of you came. Remember, he said it. He said, "Everybody is doing their best. Everybody's doing their best. Donald Trump is doing his best as Donald Trump. I'm using him as an example. He's, you know, how we respond to that is something else, but he's showing up perfectly Donald Trump, right? You know, he can't show up any other way, can he, in this moment? That's what it means. Whatever the situation, it's fine. The situation where we're in, you know, with the hurricane, it's fine. You know, it's just life unfolding, right? And our job is what? What? Let it happen and deal with it. Yeah. But stop resisting, stop fighting, stop saying it shouldn't be this way. I mean, people are this way about themselves. I mean, this is our culture, right? We don't like ourselves. We don't like ourselves. We don't like our life. We don't like our past. We're right? Nothing's fine about us. It's a kind of perverted way of looking at oneself, isn't it? You know, in Buddhism, the Buddha said, everyone's intrinsically a Buddha. You know what their problem is? They just don't know it. So they identify with their little self and all its issues and its problems. Whatever the situation it is, whatever you're dealing with in life is perfect just the way it is. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have to deal with it. This is not saying that, but it's a very different way of dealing with life. It's not coming from that place of dissatisfaction, like it shouldn't be this way, shouldn't have happened. Things like that shouldn't happen to people. Right? Don't we say that all the time? And from a certain point of view, an ideal point of view, it's true, right? Only good things should happen to people. Is that true? Yeah, in an ideal world, it's a wonderful thought. I mean, when we do our metta practice, what do we say? May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering. May all people be free of difficulties and challenges. I mean, that is our wish. But a wish is about what? Something in the future. But the reality right now is, no. Whatever the situation is, it is fine. Yes, and then we have time. Because I want to get to the last one.
I guess when I'm reflecting on how I would use this or have used this, I feel like I can identify even recently times when I've probably used this unskillfully. Just a silly example, somebody was, oh, there's a wasp nest right outside the front door. And my immediate response, oh, that's okay. And I think it was more like a response to their anxiety, but I guess I tend towards skipping over that something should be done. And it sort of like skips over the response part. And I don't know how I should work with that.
Yeah, so that's interesting because again, there's no cookie cutter, one size fits all. So we have to be clear. Right. So, is there a wasp nest outside? Where is it?
The front door.
Is there a wasp nest outside the front door?
Yeah,
Yes.
there still is.
Yeah, there is. Oh, that is true. And is it from the point of view of the wasp and the wasp nest and the place where it made its nest, is it just perfectly it's just life unfolding. The life of a wasp unfolding, the life of the house unfolding, the life of the people who live in the house noticing it. The situation is perfectly what it is. Just like the hurricane, it's perfectly what it is. Right? It's a perfect moment. Right? Because it's what's happening now. It doesn't mean, as the gentleman pointed out, that you just, put your hand up there and go, see, I've never felt a wasp nest before. All right, so it has to be some discernment. Okay, so maybe that's what you're talking about, discernment. But again, even discernment is a relative term. I mean, for you, having a wasp nest outside your door may not be a problem. That may change if it became a problem for you, right? But at this point, it's not. That's okay. But I mean, if you're saying, gee, I'm looking at my life and maybe I often don't have discernment, that it's a little too much, everything is, it's a little too much, oh, whatever will be, will be. Yeah, you can just notice that. Because it's not, again, a judgment. It's about, in Buddhism, it's all about, is it causing suffering? You see? So, the wasp's nest being out there may be perfectly fine for you. But for somebody else, it may be problematic. So there may need to be a response. But the response, again, doesn't have to be anger, fear. Wasps. Why can't I live in a world without wasps, You know what I'm saying? What are they doing in my house? Why can't they go to the neighbor's house? See, we don't care when it goes to the neighbor's house, right? Right? It's my house. I mean, is that clear? Yeah, so that's discernment. When to act, when not to act. That takes a...
So this sounds a little bit like, even though this moment is inevitable, I just think,
Well, inevitable is the...
it's here, so.
Yeah, it's here. It's a
Accept
product
it.
of causes and conditions that have brought us to this moment, right? Yeah.
So, but, this is a thing that I've fought against Buddhism,
Yeah.
is that it sounds a little like just lie over, just roll over and just go, oh, it's fine. But I think,
Is that what I'm saying today?
well, I think
What have I been
for
saying?
myself, and I think there's that other part that, like, just because you accept the moment doesn't mean that you don't have a million ways you can respond. So you can still go out and pick it and not buy single-use plastic and do, like, there's still tons of things to do.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't just accept it and
I-
go, oh, that's fine. Gonna give this to.
So again, it's really the same thing I've been saying to everybody else, but I think we all process things. Yeah, it's, one of the problems with our minds is we have bifurcated mind. It's like either or, and we have difficulty with both and. We are not a both and people. We're sort of black and white thinkers in our culture. If it's this, then it can't be that. You see, and non-dualistic thinking is both and. It can be both. Yeah, you can be totally accepting of the way things are because you understand they're just product of cause and conditions, and yet be very committed to doing your best to make a better world and make things different. They're not exclusive, you see, and I think what you're saying is habitually you think they are exclusive. That somehow, if I accepted things as they are, then I just wouldn't care. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. You were just setting me up. I see. I see. But again, that's a choice. Work on the WASP question, but other people may.
No, I understand
Yeah.
choice. It sounded like that was the end, like just accept it.
No,
and that
no,
is,
no,
but
no.
I guess I wanted you to say, but if you choose to, then go ahead and
Do you want to
still
come
be
up here and give
active
the talk?
because you can still.
I didn't know I should have checked with you
I-
first,
no.
Raven, before I.
I am watching the control freak in me, so yes.
Very good. You're getting it. Yeah, yeah. Let it be. Let Fred be Fred. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So again, so I said that these teachings are very sophisticated because they're really helping us deal with adversity so we can act. You see, many of us act not just in big global issues, but even in the most minute parts of our life and our relationships from a very narrow view that produces anger, irritation, fear, worry. I mean, when you watch the news, the weather, you know what I mean? What are they stoking in us? Over and over again. What emotion are they trying to get you? Fear, anxiety, right? Because what do they know? They know that if you're very afraid, you will want to remediate that fear. And how are you going to remediate that fear? By keeping tuned. They're very sophisticated, right? And so we have to understand that, yes, choices and decisions have to be made about, dealing with the hurricane, but they're best made from what? What kind of mind? Calm, clear, the mind of fear, the flight or fight syndrome, it is the worst mind state for dealing creatively with problems. right? Because one of the things when people are afraid and stressed is they what? They get tunnel vision, very narrow. They're just focused on this one thing. So you can't see options. That's why it's called fight or flight. I mean, there are other options in life than being afraid or staying in a fight, but you can't see that when you're in it. So the antidote is, having a mind that's clear and calm and can kind of look at situations rationally, right? But when when our minds are covered by emotionality, such as fear, worry, stress, forget it, right? Like Rosie said, I mean, if you take exception to how your daughter is and you become angry, your capacity to deal with whatever she's dealing with in an effective way is very difficult, isn't it? But of course it is. Yeah. But again, that's why, we all have our personal stories, so to speak. But yeah, that's why we're here. Right. Any other questions about whatever the situation is, it is fine. Yes. And then we'll move on to number 3.
Thank you. So to understand the first mantra and the second mantra, I'd say the examples you quoted make sense because they are really not in your control, like hurricane or just stuff like that. They are not in your control. You're only reacting to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I understand that. But how do we apply this in daily life, right? Like,
give me an example.
Give me an example. Okay. You're pursuing a promotion at work.
You're pushing for a promotion at work.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're not
for yourself.
For myself.
Okay.
Right, at the job.
Okay.
You're not getting it.
Yeah.
What do I do? Like, you're not been getting it for like 3 to 4 years straight,
Okay.
right? Should I give it up, or should I keep pursuing it? Like, if I say, oh, it has to be the way it is, why am I stressing about it? Let it go. I'm never progressing. But at the same time, if I hang on to it, it's stressing me out, right? It's like, well, how do I apply this mantra here?
Okay, yeah. So perfect. That's a great example. So whatever has to happen, let it happen. So you put in for promotion. You don't, right? Can you control whether you get it or not?
No.
Okay, so that's the first one. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen because you don't have control. You just have a piece of, okay? So that's number 1. Right?
To some extent, I think we do have some control as to
how much control do you have over whether you get the promotion or not?
20%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. True.
All right. So that means the other person and the other situation, because it's not just, I mean, we don't have time to go into it, but that's perfect. I'm not, all right. So, but the situation is not under your control. All right. So that's the first mantra. Whatever has happened is going to happen. You put in promotion, that's your freedom. You put in for promotion, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You could be a little disappointed, but you don't get angry. You don't get, all right, now. So that's the one. Whatever the situation is, it's fine. There you are. What's your situation at work? You working hard?
Yeah.
You getting the promotion?
No.
No. There it is. That's the situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's fine as it is. Now, I mean, it's fine, meaning not whether it's right or wrong or should be, shouldn't be, but that's what's happening.
Right.
I mean, that's your life at work. You're working hard, you're getting paid, but you're not getting a promotion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So you need to what? You need to look very clearly, intelligently, without any emotionality at your situation and make a decision. And like you say, you have options. But that has nothing to do with this. This helps you to get to that place of clarity and stability and calmness to deal with adversity. This doesn't make adversity go away. It turns it around. But I'm going to wait, but the third one's really going to help you. But is that clear for the first two?
But I guess how do we keep going? As in, if I keep saying, "Oh, it has to be the way it is," I can't change it. Then I'm not doing anything. I'm like giving up on stuff.
Well,
right?
no, again, that's your decision.
Like I guess
It's
I'm
your
trying to-
decision, whether you think there's room for change, whether you do want to stay there, whether, that's your decision, isn't it? You may have freedom, you may not.
Right.
But the third one will tell you how to do it, but the first two bring you to that point of acceptance. You're working where you're working, the situation is the way it is, and that is the truth. That's reality. Is that true?
Right. It is true.
Okay.
But okay, I'll wait for the third
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Then we can continue this discussion.
So again, Tsangpa Gyare, I don't know much about him, but I don't think he was a career coach. Okay? And he probably did not know about jobs and careers, so he's just giving us the big picture, okay?
I mean, that's how I deal with situations. Like personally, when things are out of my control, I pursue, I work hard, all of that. But if things are not turning around, then that's when I zoom out and then look at the big picture and kind of calm myself down.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I'm not doing that. I'm stressed.
But you don't want to, but this helps you not get stressed. You see, you don't want to get stressed because you're stressed because you're in the situation, but you don't think it's the way it should be.
Right.
But it is the way it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea you have of how it should be is only being created. It's a fantasy you have. What is your name?
Lakshman.
Lakshman. It's a fantasy. You have a fantasy about work and how it should be. Is that true?
Yeah, sure.
You see what I'm saying? See, a fantasy, this is very basic. Okay, there's reality and there's fantasy. I mean, forgive me for slowing it down, but I think we often don't get it, okay? You see what I'm saying? Reality is what's going on at work. That's real. You're doing what you're doing, you're getting paid what you're paid, you promote promotion, you don't get promoted. That's reality. On the other hand, in your mind, you have fantasies about how it should be, right?
Right.
Okay, which of the two are real?
None. Definitely not the fantasy.
This is important, Lakshmi. I mean, this is important.
But I guess if you don't fantasize, how are you moving forward? Like, how are you going forward?
Well, again, it doesn't mean you can't have dreams or fantasies or aspirations, but you have to know, this is important, you're paying close attention, you have to know they're just fantasies, they're not real. Now, can you try to bring your fantasies into reality?
Yeah,
of course you can. But please understand that fantasies and reality are not the same. Right? Can Rosie try to work with her daughter to make her a little more sociable or whatever? Of course she can. That's Rosie's fantasy, right? That her daughter is going to be a certain way. That's okay. But never confuse fantasy for reality. That's what this is saying. Reality is what's real. That's what's going on at work.
But
all right.
How do we turn fantasy into reality? If you did say that it can be turned into reality someday.
Well, that's life.
That's
I mean, we have our dreams, we have our aspirations, we have our values, we have all these things, and that's what we act on in life. But we understand it. Nobody else in the world may have them, and it may not go the way I want. Right? I mean, take Raven over here. Raven, she's an activist, right? But has all your activism paid off? Is the world the way you want? Well, it hurts because you have a fantasy that it shouldn't be the way it is. But the only way we find out how things are is we test reality. It's okay. Just keep doing it. Maybe one day it'll change. But we don't know, do we? We should never be disappointed because things are perfect just the way they are. So we have to, one more, and then we'll go on to the third.
So I think my question is related to Lockman's, although I didn't intend it to be. My question was, what do I do with the concept of a potential then? If
Concept of what?
potential. So
Meaning
if-
what?
So no matter what the situation is, it's fine.
Mhm.
So I see a potential though for it to be different or better.
Good. So that's a fantasy you have. No, and I'm not using that word pejoratively. You see what I'm saying? I'm really saying fantasy, not like fantasy literature. It means fantasy simply means what? What's a fantasy? It's not real. And it sounds, we're all intelligent, highly educated people, but we miss this one, right? So, John, if you don't mind if I speak down to you a little bit, John, you may see the potential in something, right? Potential in yourself, potential in somebody else, potential in a job, potential in a situation, but that is just an idea, a thought, a fantasy that you have. It's not real yet, right? When you can actualize that fantasy and make it real, then it's reality. But if we don't distinguish between the two, and if we think our fantasies about life and people are real, then what happens? What? We suffer. We suffer. And so, what we're all about here is, how do I end my own self-created suffering? Right? How do I cause myself suffering? How does Lockman go, why am I stressed out at work? Well, it's my own mind that doesn't want things to be the way they are. Oh, I'm causing my own stress. Then I'd say to Lockman, do you enjoy being stressed? No, definitely not. So then Lockman wakes up one day and goes, you know what? I don't want to be stressed anymore. I'm just going to change my thinking. And you may want to change your job too. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But that's not what this is about. That's discernment. Okay? Okay. Number 3. This is really hard. I don't need anything whatsoever. Well, hold on. So they're interesting. I found 2 different translations, and since I don't speak Tibetan, I don't know what it originally says. One translation said, I really don't need anything to be happy. And the other translation, which I think is probably more correct, it says, I don't need anything whatsoever, and then in parentheses, but the Dharma. But they have it in parentheses, and I don't know why. But the bottom line is, I don't need anything to be happy. This is your answer. Like, what do you do in the meantime? You see, what does Rosie do in the meantime? What if your daughter never gets it? Right? You see? Do you need your daughter being a certain way for you to be happy? You see? This is yeah, but see how central this is? Because we live our life thinking what? Right? Lockman thinks, I'll be happy if I get the promotion. You see? And all my stress will go away. To some extent, but you see, there might have been a time before you got this job, Lockman, when you thought getting that job would give you happiness and be free of stress. And lo and behold, here you are again. Right? You see? So this is I don't need anything. Can you feel the freedom in that? See, I don't need, Raven doesn't need the world to change before she can be happy. You see? I mean, the world, it would be good if the world could change, you see. You know, we wish only good things for the world. But we don't blame the world for my unhappiness. I don't blame the hurricane for my stress. Because the stress and the fear are arising where? In me. So this is the answer. Once we get these other two, right? The first two, then the last, very powerful. Because we live in a culture which is, I mean, if you went around telling all your friends and family members and your work colleagues, you don't really need anything to be, I mean, what would they say to you? What? You're crazy. What? You're crazy. What are we doing? Of course, because we live in a culture that tells us what? Yeah, we need things to be happy, right? Right? Lakshman's going, if I only had that promotion, right? Then I'd be happy. I promise. But the truth is, would getting the promotion make you happier than you are now? Yeah, in the short term it would. Yeah, so it doesn't mean that. It means to understand that happiness is not dependent on things. You can be happy with the promotion, you can be happy without the promotion. You can be peaceful, calm, at ease if the hurricane comes and if the hurricane doesn't come. Right? That's freedom in Buddhism. That's freedom. If our happiness is dependent on things, then we're very dependent. What are we dependent on? What? Circumstances, things. If circumstances are going the way I'd like them to go, then I'm what? I mean, this is easy. This is the way we do life, right? Things are going our way, then we're what? Things aren't going our way? Unhappy, right? Right? Plane is leaving on time. Brian does a lot of flying. Plane's leaving on time. How are you? Happy. 4-hour delay? Yeah. But, right? So this is the key. This is the key piece of practice, right? Thich Nhat Hanh calls the practice of meditation, he calls it learning to dwell happily in the present moment. Not just living in the present moment, but learning to dwell happily in the present moment. That's our challenge. When we know how to do that, then we're free, right? The world can go the way we want, then we're happy. The world doesn't go the way we want, then we're happy. We're okay. Because our happiness is not dependent on what? Things. Right? Again, it doesn't mean, Lakshman, that you don't ask for the raise, you see? It doesn't mean you don't change your job if you want. But you understand deep down, if I'm really looking for happiness, I'm not going to get it there, am I? Because getting that job once made you happy, didn't it? And now that job is a source of suffering to you. It's very interesting, isn't it, about this life? Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting, right? Having a daughter was once a great source of what to you? What? Happiness. And now she's a teenager. She's like, I mean, there it is, isn't it? We all know this. Relationships, all kinds of things. Jobs, world. I don't need anything to be happy. And again, they added, and I don't know if he added, but the Dharma. Dharma doesn't mean like you have to have the Buddhist Dharma. It means Dharma with a big D. We need a way. a way that shows us how to be happy, the truth, how to live in reality. Is that clear? But anybody disagree with that? Because so whatever has to happen, the worldly way is don't let it happen. Whatever the situation is, it's not fine. And I need things to be happy. Right? That's our usual mantra. Is that true? Yeah, there it is. Okay. So he's going, whatever has to happen, let it happen. Whatever the situation is fine. And I don't need anything whatsoever but the Dharma to be happy. Are these three mantras true? Please reflect a moment. And be aware of the places within you that resist the truth of these. Think about your life. Let's get real, okay? Think about your life, your real life, your personal life, your interpersonal life, your internal life, your external life, work life, social life, family life. Think about your life. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Whatever the situation is, it's fine. And I don't need anything whatsoever to be happy. Can you see that being applied in your life? Can you see, just think about real life situations you're in right now. What if you looked at life this way? Use these mantras to protect you. They say wrathful, mantras are words of power. So these fierce mantras, wrathful mantras, they'll destroy adversity, destroy obstacles. Very powerful. Would that work for you? Would these work for you? Whatever has to happen, let it happen. Whatever the situation is, it is fine. I don't need anything whatsoever to be happy but the Dharma. Think about your life situations. If you use these fierce mantras, would it make a difference? Or do you have any questions about how to use them? We only have a few more moments. Reflect on your life. For those who are new here, we practice what's called engaged Buddhism. It's Buddhism, it's engaged in life. We don't want to just practice Buddhism, in this nice meditation hall, on this nice day, with nice people. Right? That's not perhaps our life all the time, is it? So we need a spiritual practice that we can take with us into life. So think about your life. Internal, external. Whatever has to happen, let it happen. Whatever the situation is, it's fine. And I really don't need anything to be happy. Yes, Rick. Just what they want to, I think they're recording this, that's why they're.
I wonder how much depends on how you define some of these terms, such as fine and happiness.
Yeah.
In some situations, you could think, well, be very difficult to be happy in a battle or something
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
that. And I need something,
Right.
it's going to drive you. And these are very good, certainly in our normal life, but perhaps there could be extreme situations or different definitions of happiness that would alter things.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I appreciate what you're saying. So Rick's saying, hey, I mean, if you're in wartime, or if you're a homeless refugee, crossing Europe, you know what I mean, or all these things, or Mexico, you know what I mean, you're supposed to be happy. Yeah, I mean, it's hard, and I know you want to say, come on, Fred, right? There are all these situations, but I met the Tibetans. They were very interesting. When I was in India in the 70s, I mean, they were driven out of their homeland, right? Their culture was being destroyed, right? They were being hunted down, right? Right? They arrived in India penniless in a fairly poor country, right? Circumstances where you might say, phew, happy, and yet not like happy, going around whistling all the day, but yet inwardly very interesting. They were okay. I think because of the Dharma. I mean, they understood that the whole situation had just causes and conditions. Which is a very different, like that. I think I talked about it not too long ago, but there was this interview with this monk or somebody who had been a prisoner of the Chinese for 20 years, and tortured, and all kind of difficulties. And he was asked, weren't you ever afraid? And he said, the only thing I was ever afraid of is losing my compassion. That's what I was afraid of. So, yeah. So on one hand, I'd say, yeah, for ordinary people, yeah. But also when you hear these kinds of stories, the potential is there. I mean, I met people, Tibetans, who were kind of warrior types, who took up arms against the Chinese and actually guarded a lot of the monks when they were coming out, and used their weapons and killed. And they said they never hated the Chinese. They always felt bad for what they were doing, and but just felt that this, they were kind of doing something, that was necessary. So I understand what you're saying, but yeah.
In terms of actual outcomes, though, so the way they were behaving is actually better because it's leaving things open for solutions to happen.
Right. Yeah.
Even if we might think it's unrealistic.
Right.
Still.
But what is realistic? You see, I mean, it's the mind has incredible potential for good, even in aversive situations. I mean, we think, oh, of course you'd hate, and from a certain point of view, yeah, it would be easy to hate, but then what would it's like Rosie said. But if I get angry at my daughter and say angry, hateful things to her, what is that doing? You see, what is that contributing? You see, and so it's, that's very important, in the face of so much adversity in the world, what is our mind state? Yes. Other comments or questions about implementing these three in your real life? Rosie, you want to stand up for your daughter or something?
I had done quite exactly the opposite. I don't want her to be acting this way. So I have done that.
You've done what?
Like not accepting the situation or the person as it is. And the other way is like punishing, right? Either punishing or then thinking that I'm such a horrible mom, I can't.
Mhm.
So that's the hell in my mind.
Hell.
I lived, yes,
Uh-huh.
before not accepting
Mhm.
those situations. And these mantras, all through, this is the first time I heard this. In some way, I learned that this is the only way to create peace
Yeah.
and allowing it's like there's no need to discipline because like you said before, everyone is acting because of their consequent, like what they went through.
Mhm.
And so in one of the instance when I was just allowing her to be screaming or doing whatever she wants to do at that time and just being there with her without trying to change her behavior or punish her later on, she just gave me a hug and said, "Thank you, mommy."
So again, we don't know, Rosie. You know,
Mm.
every situation is different. Sometimes to be more disciplined or, you know, maybe it's always what is going to be most helpful.
Mhm.
You know, our response should always come from, not from anger, not from fear, but from what is most helpful, right? And you know, what would be the most helpful way that I can help my daughter? And if you think it's just letting her be and you kind of just being very incredibly patient with her, you think,
Yeah.
so you try that. If you think, you know, setting limits on her and you know, that may work. You know, every child is different too. So we
Yeah.
have to be very open.
So what
Not
I found
doctrinate.
out was it was me who was making in my mind the situation worse when I don't accept the situation. That was my own personal learning.
Yeah, good. So good. So I will, I think everybody here, did everybody here register? Oh, I was going to say, I'll email these to you, but it's usually I have to push a button that says email all registrants. So I don't know if you can you register after an event's happened? You can't register to an event. Anyhow, the 3 fierce mantras, just Google it. So good, we will stop for now.